Hi, Carolyn. How are you?
Pretty
There we
good.
go.
How are you?
Good. Good, good. All right. Oh, paper here. There we
Not bringing much to the table this week.
go.
Sorry.
It happens. Been
Just
super
not,
busy.
well, no, just not doing much of agility. I mean, with the cold and snow and not access, normally I have access to a,
Yeah.
indoor facility in the winter, and I don't. And I'm not, because Rose, who is 7, had an injury at some point in time, somehow. I'm just I want to be really careful with Chessie.
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to do, play in the ice or snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse me. We've been doing nose work.
Well, as long as it keeps them like doing things, right? I've just been doing a lot of contact training with my guys right now. Use it as
a great idea.
Yeah. Well, my young dogs really need to get their contacts finished. So I'm in that boat of like, they know everything else, but the contacts need, Lush has no contacts, and Hustler has his contacts, but needed weave poles. I said if I combined the two of them, I would have a one trained dog. So
interesting one too.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just working Lush and Jolt. So I don't want to be in the same boat with Jolt and like 2-year-old dog who hasn't done any contact work. So I'm like, oh, we'll focus on Lush and Jolt's running contacts, since I can do that in a small space. So yeah,
I gave up on the running contacts. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to it, but
I can let you know how this program. I'm doing a different program now. So I'm in the trial stages, but I am filming everything, so I can definitely let you know if I feel like so far I've liked it, but I don't know what the progressions are. Like it's stripped content, so I'm only to the point where we are in the course, right? So I don't know what the final stages are going to be.
Are you taking this from someone?
Kirsten, yeah, Kirsten O'Neill is doing one. So it's a year-long course, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, that like not that it would take you a year, but it's like you have access. Like she gives you feedback for the year.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So, but no, so far it's been good. Well, because with Jolt, I need someone who understands a breed different than a border collie, because he can't physically, he can't do the same things that a border collie can do. So since she's trained several Malinois to do it, I wanted someone who could understand that, because like he's just huge. Like you're a little, 20-inch border collie, and your 26-inch, 65-pound Malinois just can't move the same way, right? So
when do his bones close up, and
it's hard to say without actually x-raying, right? But yeah, like I
generally larger take longer, do they not?
Yeah, definitely. Like I know some have been 18 months before the growth plates are even closed, right? With some of the bigger dogs. For him, he just doesn't have the coordination right now.
Right.
So the contact work is fine and the foundation work is fine. I just haven't done I won't do jump work with him until he's ready for that. Yeah, just because I don't want to, there's so many pieces to work on. And I don't want him building any negative habits. So we're really working right now on the weight shift from speed. Like that's the big thing that I'm working on with him, is being able to run fast and stop from his rear end. So that's and we just do that through play. Right. So yeah, it's just, run for the toy, ask him to weight shift back, and then make sure that he's doing it from leaning backwards and not stopping the front. Right. So make sure he can stay on a completely straight line. Because that was a mistake I made with Heist. When I started with him, he would stop, but his rear end would go out to the side, and I didn't realize what it meant. So I was like, well, he stopped. Like I told him to stop, and he did, but I didn't realize that if his rear end's going sideways, he stopped his front legs, not his back legs, which for jumping is a huge problem because it means they're leaning forward. Right. So I didn't isolate that. So with Jolt, now it's like I want to make sure he has all those tools. So by the time I actually go to teach him to jump, he already has all the components. Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing for the big dogs too, is that, you know, when we start working on a lot of jump stuff, well, and for injury prevention, especially, right? Like the fewer repetitions we do on the, you know, they only have so many jumps in them in their career, right?
Heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's just, the body breaks down over repetition. So if we can teach things without rehearsing, like putting more reps physically, but also not repeating any lack of confidence, right? For a lot of dogs.
So for the play, what you're doing to get him, is that like with the stool or a platform?
I'm just doing it on the flat. I do it out in the field when I'm running them.
So how do you get him to stop? Are you're holding the toy?
Yep, I hold the toy. I will rehearse a lot of driving into the toy, and then I'm actually working on a leave it. So I'll have him drive in like he's going to get the toy, and I'll ask him to leave it, and I'll have the toy up high. So it creates the weight shift back. So he can actually do it within a 2-foot radius now of the toy. So I'll be like, get it, leave it. And he just like rocks back and freezes.
Wow.
And then, okay, get it. Right. So that's been, that's going to be part of our speed controls in the new program, in the toolbox program. So Module Tool is going to have a lot of those types of exercises in it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've been experimenting with that, but like he can stop like in a perfectly straight line just by dropping his rear end down. So that was something I was experimenting. So far I'm really happy. I mean, I haven't translated it to a jump with him yet.
That'll come.
And then the stool work is the next progression of that.
Okay.
Because if you're trying to do a stool, like you're trying to do the stool, but he didn't know how to weight shift back, he's always going to send the stool flying, right? He's going to hit the stool coming 100 miles an hour, try to stop from the front end, and it's going to go rolling. So this was kind of the foundation of that. And then I add in the stool afterwards, which is actually like, can you lift the front feet? So like all these little pieces that we usually just lump together. Like when you look at jumping, like it's such a complex thing. And we just because they, you know, can jump doesn't necessarily mean they know how, right?
Exactly.
So like if I was like, oh, I wish I would have done all this stuff with Heist, because again, like if you knew what you were looking for, you could see it on all of his flat work. Like every single thing he did flat work, he swung his rear end out, right? He could never stop on a straight path. So I thought it was good because I could stop him, right? Like I was all impressed that I could stop him on a dime, right? But yes, he stopped, but I didn't look at how he stopped. But looking back at it,
never would have thought of this. So this is really
like little things. And then with Jolt now I'm fixing it. So I'm like, I don't want to do that again. How do I fix it now? So
that's awesome.
That'll just be the progression in there. Because of course some dogs, and a lot of us have that. Like we just, before I got Heist, all of my dogs naturally weight shifted. So I didn't necessarily know how to train it. I just had dogs that did it.
Exactly.
Right. So until I had a dog who didn't, I thought they all did that. Like, you know.
Or that your training made it happen too.
Yeah. I thought I was a better trainer than I actually was. That's probably the case, you know, like I've got those I've been lucky to have those 3 dogs that have taught me, like, you know what you think you know, you don't. Right.
But you've learned from it, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. Have I ever?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why people ask me about Jolt. Like Jolt would have been a very challenging dog probably if I had not had the combination of dogs I've had up until this point. Like I don't find him hard to work with really at all. But he's like, if you took my more challenging dogs, like if you mixed Tazzy and Heist, you'd get Jolt. And Hustler, Tazzy, Jolt, and because of the possessiveness. Well, because the just sheer possessiveness of Hustler, like the Malinois definitely has like finders keepers. This is like mine, but not nearly as bad as the Dachshund. Like Hustler.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Hustler is like, do not even look at something. This is mine. You can't have it. Don't look at it. Right? Like that is Hustle. So when Jolt showed a little tiny bit of that, I was like, yeah, dealt with this before.
You are not going to win.
I was like, actually, you win all the time. It's always yours.
Oh.
Yeah. So that, because as soon I'm like, I'm not trying to take your things. I'm never trying to take your things. He's like, oh, okay, then I guess I can share it. Whereas with Hustler, right? Because I remember I was teaching the retrieve with Hustle. And if you went to touch it, it was punishing the retrieve because he's so possessive, right? So he's always afraid you're going to try and take his things. And so what I would do is like, he would come to me like 2 steps, and then I would send him away with it. So he never actually had to give it to me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And I had one of my students who was like, it sounds like he's training you. And I'm like, says someone who doesn't understand possession. Right? Because if you're trying to fit the dog into your game, right, some dogs are not going to fit into that, like, square peg round hole. Right. He already has a game. I just have to put myself in the middle of it, right? You got to play by their rules sometimes to make them trust you enough to actually like allow you into the game, right? I was like buying my way into the game. So I was like, oh, I won't try to take it from you, but we're just going to create this game of like, he would come forward, he'd let me touch it, and then I would let go and let him like run around with it, right? And same with Heist, like we struggled with the retrieve for 3 years. And if he got something that he wasn't supposed to have, like he'd be like an hour to get it back, and you couldn't trick him more than once. So right, you learn to think outside the box. Yeah.
Play with them. Yeah.
Well, and even you had to do that, right? When she was having those issues, and you had to kind of play around with, okay, she likes middle. Can I do middle and have her come in that way, with the victory lapping and stuff like that?
Yeah, she still does a victory lap, but and middle is really the only way I can get her in, and and it's all about the game because she knows what's going to happen after. Well, she's either going to get a treat or she's going to get her thing back.
So then it's figuring that out. But you can imagine if you were still trying to do like a traditional retrieve, you end up putting more and more pressure on it, right? And that's how we end up with dogs who don't want to play anymore, because we're spending so much time trying to make them play by our rules.
Right.
And you can end up with the same result, like, my dogs have guidelines now in the game, but I had to buy my way into the game first.
Yes.
Well, which like, not only am I gonna like, you're gonna play my game, but you're gonna play by my rules, and they're like, no. That's not fun. Why would I do that when I can just run around with it by myself, right?
Because I know also you want it. I mean, if I let her, she starts her parade, and it's like, okay, I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah,
you're parading. I'm just gonna go. Then she'll drop the toy and eventually come back over to me without the toy, and it's like, come on, play with me. You gotta, pay attention to me. I'm beautiful.
But that's understanding possession, right? Because the reinforcer for her is possessing it.
Yes.
So when you make a game out of the possession itself, now you've got win-win, because she wants to engage with you with the toy, right? Yes. But you're also using that natural possession that she has, which is what makes her want to parade with it, right? You start putting that in there, and now you have a really powerful game because it's high value for her, because that's the natural style she had. And you end up getting what you want, which is she's engaging with you at the same time.
Right.
But sometimes we have to
getting a retrieve.
Yeah.
But I'm getting the game, and I'm getting the engagement.
Yeah. And you can develop that into the retrieve, right? So that was like heist. I didn't understand that position. And he would come back to me and I would take the toy away, which goes against the possession, right? He wants to keep it. I take it away. So I'm punishing him for coming back.
Yes.
Right. By taking it away. And then now I can actually create the game where when he brings it towards me, that is part of our little game together. So if you want to parade with it, that's fine. I just use my shoulders and I get the dog to change directions with my shoulders while they're parading with it. Right. So instead of doing circles, which are very one-dimensional, no collaboration, I started getting him to do figure eights with it. So he would like go get it. He would start to do the circle. I would change my shoulders the other direction, which would make him change direction. So I'd change the other way. And soon I've got the dog actually mirroring exactly what I'm doing, even though they still have the toy. And as I do that, like we're in sync, we're complete. He may have the toy. I can do this from 50 feet away, right? But we're moving as one unit. And then what happens is they naturally tend to try to engage more. So when I don't engage with them, they tend to bring it in closer because they're like, hey, do the thing. Right? Okay. So then when I just put a pause in the game and they're like, but you're not doing it. I want to like, I build up the desire with what they already want, which is circling. I'm changing the rules a little bit. So it's not a repetitive pattern. Right? So we're doing it together. And then I put pauses in, and that's one thing I'm going to talk about quite a bit in this new program, because I think people don't like, you have to give the space for the new behavior to come in. And that's where a lot of people are getting stuck. So they're trying too hard, right? So they're trying to make this thing happen, opposed to stopping and seeing what the dog does in the gap. Like so much learning happens in that gap. So I'm playing the game, and I pause. What does the dog do when I pause? Because that's going to give you all the information about where they're at, right? So if I pause and they move farther away from me, that's really valuable information. If I pause and they come in closer, I'll start the game up again, right? So you're shaping the dog to come in closer with the toy to play the possession games. I've never once touched their toy, right? Wow, I'm not breaking the possession rules. Like there are rules. And if you break those rules, the dog will not play with you anymore because you break the rules when you play, right? It's like, I gotta play Monopoly with you, but I know you cheat, so I don't want to play with you anymore, right? Like because we don't understand the dog's view. Like they all have a certain style that they want to play. Dogs tend to understand that, but we don't. And that's why a lot of dogs will play with dogs and not people, right? Because we inadvertently, without realizing it, we break all the main rules.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas when you learn to like, okay, how does another dog play with that? Well, often there's a lot of give and take, right? Whereas humans are very straight line, direct thinkers. Like, I want, therefore I take, right? Dogs don't tend to be like that. So there's a lot of give and take in their interactions. So that's always one that I find fun to do, because that's what I ended up doing with Heist, totally by accident, which is how I learned this. And now, like, again, he can be 100 feet away with a toy and I just pause, he looks at me, and we can actually mirror each other from a big distance. Now that's Border Collie. They're designed to do that, right? But that's something you can play around with too. Even if you're just playing in the house, right? So even you're just playing with a toy, let go of it. See if you can get her to mirror your emotions.
Okay.
Right. So it's like the play bow, like between two dogs, where they play bow and they mirror each other.
Yes.
Which is super powerful in play, and it really gets you connected. And that really is agility. It actually strengthens your agility as well, because when you're handling, that's what you're doing. Right. So it's like that base. So play around with that, because I think it would be a cool way to develop engagement, and again, not have to do a lot of stuff, right? Like it's not about the stuff. And honestly, like I'm obsessed with that type of thing. So like 90% of me with my dogs is just that. Like I'm obsessed with that.
And I find it fascinating. I just don't know what to do. So anyway,
I in the moment, neither do I. It just becomes a like, a game while I'm doing it, which is this whole Leave It thing with Jolt. Like it just came out of, I didn't start the Leave It game with the intention of teaching weight shift. It was like a happy byproduct, right? I was just saying like, I love playing with you, but sometimes you try to take the toy when you really shouldn't be taking the toy, and you're big and you have a really big mouth. So I would prefer it if you didn't do that. So how do I create a game out of this? That turned into the Leave It, like, which was not my intent. Like I was starting with the Leave It, but it progressed into this whole like run really fast, stop part, and he loves it. Like when you tell him to leave it, he is like, I stopped, like, okay, now I got it. Like he lights up. And I was like, oh, I accidentally taught like weight shift to be fun. Oh, did not really mean to do that, but it was a happy byproduct.
Awesome.
Right? But that's something now that I could do that in a more strategic way. Same thing with the play. So see if you can get her to follow your shoulders a little bit on the victory lap. Because I think if you typically when you start doing that with them, they find it more fun than what their game was. Right? Which was just the circle.
They're just running around. She's running around to get my attention.
Yeah. You know, and now you say, I'll give you my attention, but here's the variation of this. Can you connect with me and actually mirror me? And naturally, I find for most dogs, the byproduct of that is they want to come in closer and then try pausing. So once she's doing it, pause, usually for like 1 to 2 seconds, and see if she takes a step closer. If she does, take a step back and go into it again. Okay. Right? So I'm like, I'll give you the space back. It'll be my house in a moment.
I guess somebody's outside. Here, guys, come on. Let me just check. Hang on a second.
Yeah. No. Thank you. Good job. Old cookie. Nice. That'll do. You're fine. Good boy. That's a nice head tilt.
All righty. I have no idea.
Oh, who knows sometimes.
Flip it up. There you go.
And my guys did that the other night, and I was like, I have no idea what you're going on about.
Well, Chessie is reactive in that regard to noise. I am working on noise games and movement stuff, but anyway, she's just hyper aware. It is what it is.
Yeah, some of them. I have a lot of hyper aware in my dogs. Just getting the videos ready here. No volume. Okay, so I'll give you the exercises, but again, if you end up wanting to wait with them until you've got space or back into some form of training, which who knows when this is going to be.
Honestly,
I don't know.
Not hopeful. Not for a while anyway.
I know. I've had a bunch of students message me. They're like, oh, hopefully we'll be back soon. I'm like, wouldn't hold your breath, guys. Not right now.
Yeah, no, and we're in an area where it's not that bad. I mean, we have some cases and they're not going down as quickly as we want to, but the rest of you down south.
Oh, our area around here is like I'm surrounded by like major red zones.
But is Aaron in a red zone?
No.
Okay,
no,
yeah,
we're not.
I wouldn't have thought so. But.
No, it's but Guelph was catching up in there, and Kitchener-Waterloo was. So like not where I am specifically, because let's face it, I'm in the middle of nowhere. So I have to drive to get I have to drive 10 minutes to get anywhere. Yeah. But as far as like the areas around us, like Brampton and all those were like major. There's so many multi-family homes too in those areas.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And just their need to go to work and via public transportation.
Mhm.
You know, it just,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm just, my shut in, and my family is too, because my parents work from home. So
Oh, great, good.
none of us go, like, we go to get groceries, and that's the only place any of us go.
Yeah.
And luckily, like, even exercising my dogs, I don't go anywhere because I have acreage. So
Yes, you do. You do have acreage.
I've been very lucky that way. Okay, so I'll show you the videos. But again, if you just end up wanting to do play stuff, and with the new course as well, it's going
I
to
have
be
access to that. Do I have
sure
access? I'm not, so I didn't sign up for it, but
Oh, I thought I saw your name in there, but I might be wrong about that.
well, we had, in the last conversation, you said that if I stay with you as far as this training, that I have access to all your stuff. So
Yeah. I can definitely, if you want to keep going with the program, I lost it here, I can add you in.
okay,
for
great.
sure. Yeah.
I have a student, at least one student, if not, I know at least 3 people, I think, that are in it. So
yeah, the numbers went a little insane on me. Yeah, to put it, yeah.
Awesome.
There's a lot of people in that program.
Awesome. That's good.
But yeah, I will include it in the, so I was discounting it off the, for anyone who wanted to continue coaching with me, we'll draw from that stuff a little bit more, since it'll be lots of flat work. I'm introducing lots of new things, lots of things for the handler and not the dog, which
Yes.
for small spaces, people in lockdown.
Yes. Awesome.
That will be a big thing. Okay, so let me find the video here. Start with some landing side flipaways. Okay, screen share. Okay. So landing side flipaways. So otherwise known as a back lap turn, but I find most people don't know what a back lap turn is. So we're just working on the dog being able to turn away. I'm always using my cross arm for this, because I use all flips and all turns away from me are always on the cross arm. This was a bad video angle, I realized after I'd filmed it, because you can't really see my hand.
Oh.
But basically what we're looking to do is to turn them away, so you can kind of see it there. So turn their head away, and then just make sure you're throwing the reward out so they don't back jump. I taught 2 of my dogs to actually do this and then come back through the uprights without realizing it. And that was a real pain to try and fix after the fact. So when you reward this one with the turn away, just make sure you're throwing it so that they don't come back through those uprights. Yeah, I didn't realize that was a problem until it was a big problem. With my previous dogs. I was like, look, I learned this cool new thing. And then I was like, oh, this is bad. I'm also using my directional here. So if you want to use a verbal directional, you can also do that.
All right. So the directional would be.
So in this.
There, left or right?
Yeah, I'm using my repetitive left or right.
Or would it be the wrap? Like if I was if you were on that side, you would be telling them, say, dig, dig.
Yeah, it's to turn away from me. So I do want to put it on a separate word. Okay. Right. So, because they're going to be flipping opposite away from me, not towards me. So for me, all of my turns away are left or right. If you used like a swing cue, which is a generic like turn away from me cue, you could use that too. I don't have one of those, like mine. I just teach the left and rights and use them that way.
You had us working on like a flip away on the flat.
Yeah.
And I was using left or right.
Okay. Then I would probably use the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's a turn when they land. Right. So they're landing and then they're turning.
No, with what you had turned what we were doing before, I thought was a turn and then a jump.
Which way are they turning? Don't overcomplicate it.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Good.
Okay.
Good. That's good.
Don't worry about before or after. When I say right, turn right. When I say left, turn left. Unless you want to have like 100 verbals.
No, I don't.
But I find then they don't come out in the right spot. So
I can't remember what I got.
That's what I find with most people now.
No, anyway.
So again, same thing, just the other direction.
Okay, I want to see what your feet are doing.
So here he breaks. So if he breaks, I stop, wait for him to acknowledge. He's kind of doing a half sit, half down thing. We're walking back. We have to have a conversation about stealing my toys. We have to have another conversation about stealing my toys.
Enjoy that conversation.
Yeah, we have that a lot. I left it in there because a lot of people will have that. And honestly, his head is like right at my pocket.
Yeah.
And my toys are sticking out, but I didn't change the toys. I just had the conversation. So the main thing happening there is that when he does try to steal it, I'm going to stop forward motion, put my hand over my pocket like a mouse game.
Yes.
Right. Wait for acknowledgement from him. So that could just be him stepping back. It could be him sitting. It could be him downing. I don't care what he does, as long as he acknowledges by moving away from the space, right? When he acknowledges, then I will uncover, then I will start walking again. So that's an entire conversation that we're having in between. And then when we get back here, just because this does show up sometimes and people don't always know how to deal with it, right? So there he goes again. I'm going to cover, wait for acknowledgement. He gives me acknowledgement. Now I'm changing his position for the setup, and now we can continue. But the toys are still there, right? It's just he showed me, okay, oops, I got it. So I don't think actually in this session he tries that again. So my feet are going the direction.
You are taking a slight step back. So
there.
More to the side, actually.
Yeah. So arm and leg move together as a unit, right? So if I'm using my left arm, I'm also using my left leg to cue, and they're both going to where I want him to go. So if you drew a line from my hand and you drew a line from my foot, they go to the same spot.
Gotcha.
Right? Once he starts to turn, now I'm going to step away. Right? So my left leg in this scenario, my left leg is creating the path. My right leg is getting me where I need to go next. Right? So left will step, my right will start moving me the opposite direction, which in the later stages of this will make a little bit more sense. So what I'm starting to do here, the first ones that I did, I was already at this wing. So my first position to make sure that they do turn away, because some dogs will spin towards you when you're over this far. So my first position was the second wing. Now I'm moving onto the bar or where the first wing is, and then I'll actually move so that I'm off to the side even more. So this is about this is a process of my position, because if I'm up here, I'm just in nowhere land, but it's fine because I'm just throwing my cookie, right? So my initial examples, in the first times I did it, I was way up here so that I could actually toss the cookie around the wing to make sure the dog did turn the right way. Right. If she's getting this right away, you can, move across the bar sometimes in one session. Like this was all one session for him. And this actually was the first time he's ever seen it, but he's done so many turns on the arm that he just put 1 + 1 together and he figured it out. So it didn't take me long to get him to that stage, right? So reset a little bit here. Then what you can start doing is adding in the backside. So this is a little bit more realistic, because when you're going to use this is when you can't get ahead of the dog. So you can't get ahead to blind and you can't keep pushing in to try and rear across. It gets really awkward. So this is my break glass in case of emergency move. If I can't get ahead of the dog and I have to turn them on the slice, it's just an easy move to be able to do that. So now he's going around the back. My cross arm, again, if you draw a line from my foot and my hand, extended, they both go to here, right? Which is the slice that I want. I'm in front of the first wing at this stage. So he's going to turn away. And then I'm just throwing the treat to keep him from coming back through, because a lot of times they'll naturally just come right back through. So here, turn away and throw. Same thing other way. So here, turn. So there I was in his way. So I was actually blocking him just to show you, because this might happen. So he can't go anywhere because I'm standing there putting a ton of pressure on him. So I just bring him back. and then I stay out of his way. So it was kind of a thank you moment because I didn't get taken out by the truck. Thank you for not coming into my space when I was blocking you, because that would have been painful, especially if there was a 24-inch jump on that. We've worked a lot on space since he's like waist height. So at this point, I'm actually staying all the way beside the wing. So this is the final position, right? So now it's easy for me to layer. I can catch back up. So that's the final product, is just being able to stay off to the side a little bit. So you stay beside the wing, he turns.
Awesome.
And go. He's a smart cookie. I think on this one he follows me. Oh, no, he doesn't. There's one in here where he turns the wrong way. Higher, higher. So there. So this was actually, I cued it the same way, but he's starting to get amped up and he's getting a bit chasey. So this wasn't necessarily handling, this was over arousal that was starting to come in because of the repetitions. So what I ended up doing, I actually didn't change me at all. You see the snapping, like even when he comes into hand touch, he's like, ah, da, da, da. So the overexcitement comes in. So all I'm going to do here is just use some food. I'm going to do a little bit of zoning him into the slow motion to the food. Right. And then now he's fine. Okay. So I just took that overexcitement and just in a moment and said, like, can you take it down a notch? And that refocused him. And then he did it.
Your dimmer switch.
Yeah. So exactly. So I just had to take it down a notch and then he was like, okay, no, I can go back to the initial behavior again. You also want to mix in some wraps to make sure they're not always doing the slice, especially if you're using a jump bar, because it's so much easier for them to jump on the slice versus the wrap. And then I just go back and balance out a little bit. Let's see if I can still get the flip. So again, that contrast between doing wraps and doing flips is just going to make sure that they're understanding it. But if they turn the wrong way, first thing you want to check is that your hand and your foot are going to the correct wing, right? So check that first to make sure it's not you. But if you know that you're going to the right spot, it could just be that they're chasing, right? That they're getting into chase mode. They see you leaving and they want to come with you versus turning and continuing around the wing. So that's kind of the number one thing I see from troubleshooting on this, is that the dogs will get chasey. Again, I didn't change that with my handling. I just changed the arousal level. Yes. So when I just used that dimmer switch a little bit, then it went back to normal. Questions on this one at all? Not so much. I find because we've done flipaways before and all the threadle work all helps with this. So for most of the dogs at this stage, they pick up on it super, super fast, right? Just because of the previous work.
To be honest, we've done a lot of turns, but I have been taught it so that you step back, your feet aren't going in the direction that the dog is going. So that's new. So I'll have to practice my feet.
Yeah, and that's I've actually done this one before with no verbal cues, just to test it, to see if I can show the dog the difference between the slice and the wrap consistently without using any words. And my dogs had no problem. But it's because I'm stepping across, so my arm and my leg show the line. And if I want to wrap, my arm and my feet stay perfectly straight. So my feet are going to continue on one. So same thing with when we were doing the threadle work. Like even though I was even though I was using verbal cues, they were mostly going off my body anyways. So here we're just working on a simple get out exercise. So what you're looking for here is that the dog is actually redirecting. So if you drew a straight line from the dog straight ahead, the jump is off the line. So they have to bend away to go get it. So he's having to bend away. So I'm giving my cue. Mine is get out. Then I'm stepping. Then I'm cueing. Again, foot and hand are going to the exact same spot because he's never done this before. So he does not know what this means. Later on, you can not use the hand and the leg to set the line, but he's not at that stage yet because he's never seen this before. So just looking to get the bend away. Right. And want that front end to really move over. so that his front is here. If you drew a straight line from him straight ahead, he would not take the jump, but I want him to move the front so that he has to shift away.
All right. Do you have like a difference between a get out versus an out?
No.
Okay.
Get out is move laterally away from me.
Yes.
That's what I use it for. So I actually, the piece that I'm trying to pinpoint here is the lead change in the front end. So I'm actually wanting that sidestep. That's to me what an out is. So an out, and then I would give my obstacle name, right? So if this was a tunnel, whatever it happened to be, so the dog's running a straight line. When I say out, I want that front end to move over. So that's what I'm actually, because I don't know what distance it's going to be. I don't know what obstacle it's going to be, right? So the out for me is redirect the front, and then I'll use my specific obstacle to be able to show them where to go after that. But it's like cranking the steering wheel. So that's what I liken it to. So when I crank, or when I give my out, I want you to crank the steering wheel away from me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm using here. I was super consistent in the video with my words. I got them all mixed up. So sometimes I said out, then I realized I should say get out, because its out cue is to let go of a toy. And it was kind of a verbal mess because I haven't taught him this before, so he doesn't know it. But I realized I was like, oh, I was really inconsistent there. I need to pick my cue. I will use get out. It's the emphasis is on the get part.
I hadn't really thought about that. How dumb.
Well, only because he does know the word out. Like out to him is let go of the toy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm.
And I've really proofed that. Like that is a word that he does absolutely know. It was the out the toy, because that's like 90% of what we worked on.
Yeah.
So then I was saying out jump. He was following my body, so he knew what I meant to say. Yes. Because he was following my motion. But I was like, oh, that's really confusing. To have, like, if I were to say out jump, like out to him is spit the toy. So I've always said get out, but I put the emphasis on the get part. So that really becomes the cue. The out is more for me than it is for him. So the lateral motion is really on the get part. Here I'm just adding the toy in for some contrast. So still making sure he can redirect away now that he has something to stare at. That part's hard for him.
Much more animated with the toy.
Yeah. And I'm cheating a little bit. I'm like going for food to get the out on this one. His arousal level is pretty high. Yep. So they're just integrating a little bit of going straight, so he doesn't think it's always take the jump, because he is quite an obstacle focused dog. So he would naturally want to do the things just because they're there. This was actually the first time ever he has gone to a toy and not picked it up. That was like first time ever that I've said leave it, and he's actually left it. So I fed him for that. That was like little celebration moment. Because like in my previous videos, he would pick it up. I would disengage him with food and then toss the food away, and then I would pick the toy up. Like that's how we had to deal with him going to toys that he wasn't supposed to get. So I just didn't engage with them. But that was the first time that he actually picked it up, dropped it, and went, oh, I'm not supposed to have that. So that was kind of a celebration moment for him, because that's very hard for him.
You should have done a jackpot.
Yeah, I was like, woohoo, good for you. Again, we've been working on that separately with the leave-its, but first time he's done it in a training session. So it's cool. He's learning. He's growing up in his little brain. Such an immature dog. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was good. So again, just looking at that front end really bending away. Yeah. And once you start being able to alternate between the two, like go straight and bend away, then you'll know that like they're tuned in to listen to you, either verbally or physically. He's obviously listening to me physically because he doesn't know the words yet. Okay. The same thing other way. So I want to see that front end move. Now here, just to show why I took that step, because that was calculated. So he is locked. So he's made a decision already. So I'm going to step forward and block. And then he flicked. So he didn't change his head. He flicked his ear. So that's how I knew he was going to take the jump. So he unlocked with his ear, not his eye.
Can you go back to that?
Yeah. So there,
Oh,
right there. So right before, it's like a split second.
and you
Right
saw that.
I felt that. I didn't see it. I felt that. I can't even pause it quick enough to like see the head turn. So lock, there. So right before he turns, he flicked it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't, when I'm training dogs, it comes across to me as a feeling, not a, so I'm seeing it, but I see it so fast and it processes so fast that it just feels a certain way. So if he's locked, it'll like, I'll feel him, right? When he unlocks, it'll feel softer. So often I can tell if I'm paying attention and not trying to talk at the same time. Like when I'm trying to teach something and train the dogs at the same time, I can't be present enough to them to get as good at it. But if I'm only training my dog, it's very rare that they do anything that surprises me, because I knew it was, I might have only known like a second before it was coming, but I knew it was coming. And then here, just playing around with some of the middle and the playing games, because I've been doing a lot of taking his toy away, right, in this session. And I'm switching him for food, and he does have equal value for food and toys. He loves his toy, but he'll always let go of a toy for food too. And then here he's like keeps coughing up his cookie.
He wasn't really ready to go there.
He puts it in his mouth, forgets to swallow it. And it's not that he doesn't want to eat it. It's because as soon as he coughs it up, he's like, oh, cookie. It's just, yeah, he doesn't always compute to what he thinks he's doing. And then here he's getting a little crazy. So we're just bringing it down a little bit. We're having to do more and more of the notching it down.
Yep.
Okay. And then for this one, this is the sneak peek into Threadle week on the other one. So tunnel threadles, but without a tunnel. I was super excited about this exercise. I was like, I think this is brilliant. Okay, so all I'm doing here, because here's the problem that I find with a lot of dogs when they learn threadles on tunnels, they actually learn how to bank off the outside edge of the tunnel. So what they do is they come in on the tunnel on an angle, right? They're hitting the back wall, and they use the back wall to bend themselves. Okay. So injury-wise, the big dogs tend to just send the tunnel flying. Like I know I've put 60 pounds of sand on an entrance with Heist, and he still moves the tunnel. Like I'm trying to drag the tunnel back and I can barely move it, and yet he moves it like it's nothing. And it's just because when I taught him how to do a threadle, I did not insist that he did the lead change before he went in. So he had to do it off the back edge. Looking back at it with Dice, who was, obviously she was never going to move the tunnel. But what happened to her is that she would actually go so far up the edge that she would kind of half pipe the tunnel and flip herself over. So there was a lot of tunnels where she actually ended up slipping in them. And she was slipping because she was trying to bank off the outside edge. So it's the same problem. When you're doing it with objects, and you can literally use anything, you're just looking for it not to be a tight turn, right? So I've got like a laundry basket and 2 cones, but you just don't want them turning tight, because in a tunnel, they have to follow the curve, right? They're following the curve of it. And what will happen with a lot of dogs is they'll actually spin either at the tunnel mouth or once they start to go in it, if you start to move suddenly. So we want them to learn at this stage when we're doing it on the objects that you're going to see me move, but you need to ignore that and follow the curve of the object. So that's all we're doing here. So I'm sending them around the out. You can also practice your get outs on this one as well, depending on where they're starting. So just using that cross arm to show them to come in. Now here, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on them initially. So notice I'm staying kind of in my own bubble. I'm not trying to push into him as I'm going, which I'll do a little later on in this exercise. And he has never seen a tunnel threadle before. So I have purposely not taught him real tunnel threadles because I wanted to make sure that the bend, which you can see him do here actually, I want to make sure that he is completely bent so that his body is in a circle before. So he's bending before he gets to that edge, right? Okay. Which you'll notice here, because if you're doing this and they're not, they won't be able to follow the curve. They'll usually have a big gap. So you'll see them kind of make a straight line, like a triangle versus a circle. Their front end will go this way, and there'll be a gap between them and the object. That will tell you that they're lead changing late. So
To me,
here I
that's
go to,
almost practicing a lap turn.
it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So lap turns are the same. The difference is here, I need the object to be spread out so they don't respond immediately because the tunnel creates a delay. But it's the exact same thing that you've done in all of the flipaways, right? It's just creating something where they're not expecting to come tight, right? But it's the same foundation. If they go the wrong way, then I just make sure I give a little bit of space. This time I'm going to help him out, moving the hand and the leg together. Right, so this leg went back and that helped open the gap for him. The time before I had my feet planted, which is something that a lot of dogs will start to come into you and then push back out to the wrong end again. It's almost always because we've planted our feet. Right, so there's that little step back and then he has no question. That was much better. He's a little more coordinated. He still kind of moves like Scooby-Doo. And then just adding in the toy, changing the arousal level. The toy. So that was a bad job on my part because I didn't add the gap. So that was, I got the out. This is like one step back.
Just looked like a scent sound.
Yeah, but I didn't think about it before I did it. So it caught him unaware. So very subtle. See how I got the out and I never looked down?
Yes.
I never told him to move his front end off my leg.
Ah.
So he bumped me, right? That was 100% me. So I merged into traffic without putting my blinker on is what happened, right? So I did not hear, I go right from the toy out. He's focused on me. I go to step forward and he bumps me. Where's my head? Way up here. So I never gave information to that front shoulder that it has to move out versus on the out video that I showed, notice that like I was drawing the line down to help bend him away. This time I didn't do that. So that was not him. That was me not putting my blinker on. So it caught him. He was like, oh shit, you're coming in here. Okay. Right. It was much better on the toy there. I don't know what that is. I like tug with my paws too. So that transition I like in that I just took the energy out of the toy and he's actually zoned in enough to be able to disengage on that. So there, that was, see how his front end was already moving?
Yes.
So he knew just from that little bit of a pause, because this is like super subtle. So right there, he's already moving his front. Right, so that's a big piece of what I'm looking for, is how quickly they move that front end, which will also create more weight shift, because in order to be ready to move the front, they have to have their weight shifted back already. Right, so for a dog like him, it's going to be important that he's like, even here, you can see he's leaning backwards a little bit. Right, so he's just slightly sloped. That's showing me he's ready to move the front end. So he's got his weight back. Those front feet can go either direction. If he's leaning forward, he's going to have to take a little step or then do a rock back to move them. So as far as like their responsiveness to cues on course, that's actually a big part. I hadn't actually noticed this. So he was like ready to go the other way. It was the wrong direction for what I was cueing. But I do like that, again, you see how he weight shifts back here. So he's starting to actually hold himself more back and less forward, which is a good progression for him. I'm pushing down. Questions on that one?
I don't think so.
Not so much. Again, she knows threadles, so it's not going to be a massive light bulb moment as far as like she already knows the skill.
Yeah, but it's learning that weight shift. That's
and that's just mixing it up. That's why anytime I'm working on coming in, I'm also working on going away, because otherwise what happens, they start to lean like this. So if they think they're always going to go away, they're not going to stop square. They're going to stop leaning the opposite direction. They're like, oh, I'm already going that way. Okay. What I want is a dog perfectly balanced, ready to go either direction. So they're like, okay, I'm either going this way or I'm going this way, and they're rocked back and they're ready to do it. That's what's going to give you those quick reactions, right? Gotcha. Physically. Gotcha. And that keeps your dog responsive on course, because as soon as they anticipate, they're unresponsive, right? They're no longer reacting to your handling. So they're unresponsive at that point. They're just anticipating.
Right.
So that's why I'm always training the two things at once. But I do like this in that I can make sure that the dog's bending. So if I have a dog who is a tunnel wrecker, he definitely would be just because of his size. Heist was trained to be, because again, I thought that I can throttle verbally from anywhere. And I thought that was a good thing. Because I was looking at the point of, yeah, he didn't do off-course tunnels, but I've also seen him do some crazy things like jackknifing himself, try to go into an entrance, right? And same thing with Dice, because of course she would never do anything reckless. That was just her personality. But there was a lot of times where if her paws were wet from the grass and she went in a tunnel, she would slip.
Wow.
Right. And now I'm looking at, especially because back then we didn't use the same arm to thread, like we did this and then we changed back to send in, because we were in the Greg Darrett system where you always had to release the dog to go back in, which would really put them on the wrong lead because it makes your body go the opposite way the tunnel goes. So it was contradictory natural versus trained cues, but I don't think we knew that back then. So I don't think that helped her, like as far as how many times she slipped in a tunnel. I think that created some of that issue as well. Right. Questions on any of those? Again, she knows those skill sets, so I anticipate she would do them pretty easily. But.
And this, I like this because I think I can do this inside. So yeah, so I can, my space is workable.
I know. Well, that's the good thing about all the new things that I'm filming now. Like all those obviously were filmed in my little area to train. So I'm like, yeah, it's not like what I was filming.
It's a little bigger than what I got, so just a touch. But anyway, I should be able to. We won't get any speed, but that's fine. With this stuff, it's not an issue. So.
And the one thing you want to really focus on her when you're doing the throttle piece, when you're throttling her in around the object, make sure you're moving across. So you really want to teach her to resist the pressure of your body, right? So that you're bringing up that arm, and as soon as you see her look, just like cut really far behind her or really quickly behind her, because that's going to really proof the skill, because the natural cue of you moving in is going to make her flick back out again.
Gotcha.
So for her specifically, I would focus on that element of it, because that's going to create that chase that you want. Yes. So it's like, I'm going to the tunnel and catch up. So I found with my dogs I'm trying to motivate, that actually really helps engage the chase before they even go in the tunnel. So they're motivated to come out even faster.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I play around a lot with that.
We're talking about you. Just feed me. All right, good.
Okay. So questions on any of that stuff?
Nope. I'll probably have them once I get going.
Okay, so we do have 2 weeks if you want to send me video review. So 2 weeks from today, as far as like these exercises, if you want to send me those. And again, if you end up working on other stuff, like doing more nose work, that's fine. Like don't feel obligated to send me videos, but absolutely you still can awesome. For the 2 week period.
Okay.
Okay.
And then are we renewing? How's this going to work?
So yeah, I'll have the option to renew. The only thing is I'm not going to be making new videos specifically for this. So if we renew, so included in the price, so like the $12.97 will actually include the program, the toolbox program. So I can add you into that. We'll kind of use that as a base. Plus you'll get accesses to all the bonus material. So there is, like I'm doing a live version of the start lines. So I'm doing an updated version of that. You'll get all of that info as well. We're going to do the ring stress reset. I'm revamping as well as a bonus. We're going to do a course analysis workshop included in that with my little magnetic agility set that I can set up to show. Be super fun. Super fun.
I love those.
I saw it and I was like, that is like 3D course map. That's amazing. So I'm actually going to, since, most of us don't have access to courses right now. So that one's specifically going to be about making handling decisions for your particular dog.
Perfect.
So all of
So
those
glad for
bonuses
that.
will be in there. So what we can do is, instead of me filming separate exercises, we'll just go off of that and all the bonus material, because I'm pretty
Okay.
sure that will be enough to carry us through to the next session. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I will add you into that program. Show myself a note here. So it'll still be the 9 calls. So 3 months, 9 calls every other week, exact same format. The booking calendar will be the same. So everything's the same. It's just we're going over to that stuff. But it'll, again, invisible dog. There's gonna be a lot of invisible dog coming up on that. And so you'll be able to practice some of the mechanics yourself, even if you don't have room to set it up. Right.
Okay.
That was kind of my purpose on this, since so many of us are in scenarios where, you know, we don't have access to our training facilities.
Yeah.
Right?
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So if you send me an e-transfer for that, if you want to join now, I can add you in right away. So you can catch up on that, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So
Okay.
1297.
1297, which includes the coaching and the course. So you're actually getting the coaching for a bit of a deal. The coaching is less, but you get a new program in there, so it balances out a little bit. All right. And I will get you into that. Yeah, no, it's been super fun. So, and again, there'll be all the little things in between too, and then I'll be able to tailor it exactly for you. You're welcome to send me videos of the invisible dog as well. Right. Okay. So when we're doing this program, so if you want me to just, like, you know, instead of, I'll be showing people how to add the dog in as well. But I'm happy to critique your videos with your invisible dog too. So the video review will be the same format. So when you send it to me, I'll voice over, send it back to you. So we can do it that way.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you. We'll see you for the next one. I'll resend you the coaching calendar so you can book those dates.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Thanks so much.